it's too late for the people who've died, but it's the start of understanding why they died and what happened.
An unexpected death is when you look around and think, there's no good reason why this person should have died now. For years, the truth about that tragic night in Paris was hidden. However, a new finding has changed everything. The police chief has come forward with a shocking confession. He said, that night in Paris wasn't just an accident. Diana's last moments were not what the public thought. Behind the crash were choices, some made out of fear, others for power. Now every decision made that night is being questioned. What happened in the Alma tunnel should never have happened. The real story is just starting to come out. The inquest that held the world's attention. The Alma tunnel in Paris is still a painful place for many people. It is where Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed lost their lives in a tragic car crash. News of the accident spread quickly, with headlines declaring Diana is gone. People around the world were shocked and came together to mourn. Crowds cried as cameras flashed. The broken Mercedes became a symbol of sadness. Many wondered, how could this happen? The tragedy felt personal to many, not just to royalty. The world grieved as one. Diana's funeral drew millions. The streets were filled with people. Flowers covered every wall. We loved her. A woman near Buckingham Palace said, that day was hard. People held their breath. The pain lingers. Others agreed, it still hurts. 10 years later, a British inquest finally started. Many families had been waiting for answers. They said, we need answers. The goal was to find out what happened. The inquest was set to last 6 months and cost millions, but for many, the money didn't matter. People pleaded, just tell us the truth. The coroner wanted to be open and decided to show new footage from Diana's last night. No one had seen these clips before. They revealed the previous hours of Diana's life. One detail stood out. They held hands, someone pointed out. Diana and Dodi held hands for nearly 8 minutes. They didn't speak, just shared feelings. The coroner noted, that said everything. There was also a short video of Diana smiling. That smile, captured forever, was hard to watch. She looked happy, as if nothing was wrong. One viewer said this made the tragedy harder to accept. The jury had to think about 20 points. We had to dig deep, one member said later. They looked into the roles of the paparazzi and Henri Paul, who drove the car. The jury received letters from Prince William, Prince Harry, and Prince Philip. One letter said, please don't rush. The royal family wanted the inquest to find the whole truth. A woman stated, people didn't want quick answers. We waited 10 years. We can wait a little longer to find out what happened. 2 years after the crash, French judge Hervé Stéphane said Henri Paul was drunk. He noted he shouldn't have been driving, but some doubts remained. In Britain, the investigation took longer. The first coroner died before starting the inquest. The second coroner handed the case to Lord Stevens, a top police officer. Stevens led a new investigation and concluded, no signs of a plan, no proof of conspiracy. However, that coroner stepped down soon after. Lady Butler-Sloss took over next. Although she was intelligent, many people didn't trust her. Critics said she lacked experience, while others worried she would keep the hearing secret, causing a lot of outrage. Many demanded, it must be public. Finally, the Court of Appeals ruled that a jury was needed. After this decision, Butler-Sloss resigned. The news reported, she couldn't carry on under those rules. In 2007, Lord Justice Scott Baker became the fourth coroner to start the inquest into the crash that killed Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed. British law required this inquest because the collision happened abroad. The first step was choosing a jury. About 80 people were summoned. One juror said it felt serious. They were asked if they had connections to the royal family, the Fayeds, or British intelligence. The court stressed the need for fairness. In the end, only 25 jurors were selected. The others went home. Some had strong opinions and some had personal ties. As the inquest began, the mood grew tense. The coroner reminded the jurors, this matters to the world. He urged them to stay focused and stick to the facts, avoiding outside distractions. From the start, they faced difficult questions. Key footage from the Ritz Hotel showed Diana and Dodi walking calmly through the halls without any sign of worry. They took the elevator and exited through the back, looking at ease. Henri Paul's condition became a big issue. A French report showed his blood alcohol level was far above the legal limit, but video footage showed him walking normally and tying his shoes. People thought he looked fine, raising doubts about the test results. Some jurors questioned the accuracy of the tests. The coroner urged caution and a thorough investigation. We must be sure, he said. The jury also considered Diana's possible feelings of fear before the crash. Did she feel unsafe? Did she suspect anything? Mohammed Al-Fayed, Dodi's father, claimed the crash was planned. His strong statement surprised many but also pushed others to seek answers. The coroner insisted that every part of the case must be examined closely. Nothing could be skipped, he said. The inquest was about more than just facts. It involved trust, fear, and grief. Diana's death affected not only the royal family, but also many others. "She was like family to us," one person said. This inquest went beyond a simple courtroom event. It became a journey filled with memories, tears, and a search for truth. It raised challenging questions. Could anyone have prevented this? Many still wonder. The lives lost in that tunnel mattered to millions, and the inquest became a way to honor them. "We just want to know," a man said outside the courthouse. "We just want the truth." That truth remains essential even now. The night before the crash. The night before the 1995 crash, Princess Diana talked to her lawyer, Lord Mishcon. She was worried about her safety and asked for better protection. Mishcon found it hard to understand her fears. He spoke with Commander Jeff Reese, who agreed that Diana's concerns were serious. Despite whispers about her mental health, Diana stayed strong and often joked about the gossip. Her team noticed her pain from a broken marriage and admired her resilience. By July 1997, Diana had left royal life and felt freer. After a trip to Saint-Tropez with her sons, she grew closer to Dodi Al-Fayed. People saw her happiness, but she also took time on their yacht. On Saturday, August 30th, Diana, Dodi, and bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones arrived in Paris after flying from Olbia Airport. Photographers, including Fabrice Chassery, were already there. This was the first time Diana, Dodi, Trevor, and Henri Paul, the deputy head of security at the Ritz Hotel, were together. Paul had connections to French intelligence, which raised questions about possible British or foreign intelligence involvement. But friends insisted he was not a spy. That day, Paul stayed close to Diana and Dodi. He took them to the Al-Fayed-owned Villa Windsor, which he knew would upset the royal family. Later, after returning to the Ritz, Dodi went out to buy an engagement ring from the Dis-moi-oui collection. The couple faced intense media pressure and canceled their dinner plans at a nearby restaurant because of the paparazzi, choosing to eat at the hotel instead. As the night went on, tensions rose, especially when Paul disappeared for nearly 3 hours. When Dodi canceled their dinner outing around 10 o'clock, everything was about to change dramatically. The plan: escaping the paparazzi. At around 10:20 p.m., Dodi Fayed told the Ritz night manager, Thierry Rocher, that he wanted to leave for his apartment. A few minutes later, Rocher passed this message to Henri Paul, the hotel's head of security, who started to arrange their departure. Around 10:30 p.m., Paul stepped outside to talk to photographers for about 7 minutes before returning to the hotel. He seemed calm, according to the bartender. At roughly 11:10 p.m., he spoke with Dodi's Range Rover driver and the paparazzi, looking like he had a plan. After tying his shoelaces for 44 seconds, he returned to discuss a new strategy to avoid the press. As midnight approached, the plan included Dodi and Diana leaving through the back while Paul would drive. At 11:23 p.m., he checked one last time on the paparazzi before finalizing a decoy scheme with 2 black Mercedes. Just after midnight, Diana and Dodi left their suite laughing and relaxed. Paul signaled them to move while she playfully waved goodbye, showing her warm nature even under pressure. Using the service elevator, Paul reviewed the plan one last time with the drivers. As they gathered in the narrow corridor at the back of the Ritz, Paul asked if they were ready and they nodded. There was no turning back, and their story would soon lead to tragedy. The crash, how it all happened. At 12:19 p.m., a black Mercedes pulled up to the back of the Ritz Hotel. Trevor entered the front seat while Diana and Dodi got into the back. Paul sat in the driver's seat. They did not know that a significant event was about to happen. The car drove away from the hotel. Photographers tried to capture the moment, but the decoy plan worked, for a little while. Some photographers chased the wrong cars, but it didn't take long for them to realize what was happening. "They've gone out the back," someone shouted. Although the Mercedes had a head start, a few paparazzi saw it and began chasing it. "They're getting away," another shouted. Motorbikes roared to life, and cars followed closely behind. The chase had begun. Henri Paul pressed the gas pedal, and the Mercedes sped through the streets of Paris. The night was filled with engine sounds and camera flashes. The drive was supposed to be quick. The fastest route to Dodi's apartment was usually through the Champs-Élysées. However, roads near the Place de la Concorde were blocked that night. Paul quickly decided to turn the car and drive along the River Seine. The vehicle raced ahead. He didn't slow down, a witness recalled. Instead of turning right to exit, Paul drove straight into the Alma tunnel at over 60 mph. That tunnel wasn't meant for that speed, one expert said later. Some believe another car, a white Fiat Uno, was involved in the crash that killed Princess Diana. Parts of its taillight were found in the tunnel, and white paint was found on the Mercedes. An investigator noted that this suggested contact, though others said the Fiat Uno was innocent. A damaged Fiat Uno was linked to James Anderson, a photographer who said he wasn't in Paris that night, but there were still doubts about his story. In the tunnel, photographers quickly arrived to take pictures, causing public anger. 7 were arrested, but their images went unseen. Meanwhile, Dr. Frédéric Mailles, who saw the crash, tried to help Diana until paramedics arrived. Despite his efforts for many minutes, it took an hour and 43 minutes to get her to the hospital, raising questions about whether quicker action could have saved her. Important figures like the French Minister of Justice and the British ambassador waited quietly at the hospital. The world soon learned of her death, leading to widespread grief and memorials in many cities. Investigations into the crash followed, with questions about how the tunnel was managed and the Fiat Uno's role. Although the investigation found no evidence of a crime, doubts remained. Years of inquiries looked at every detail, but no clear answers provided closure. What is clear is that on that tragic night in Paris, the beloved Diana was lost, impacting the world forever. She was the people's princess, one mourner said, and her legacy lives on. What came after? The truth about the accident. The crash in the Alma tunnel changed everything. In the days that followed, the pain and confusion grew. One witness said, "Nothing felt normal anymore." At first, things moved slowly. The morning after Diana's death, French traffic officers closed the westbound side of the tunnel. They didn't want to rush things. They waited until the scene was cleaned and checked. The road opened to traffic again at 10 a.m. A police officer noted that people were already gathering. Some stood and stared, while others left flowers and notes. Everyone wanted answers, but finding those answers took time and raised more questions. Later, the coroner in charge of the inquest decided the jury should visit the Alma tunnel. He thought visiting the site would help them understand what happened. However, this simple plan faced issues. During the visit, a police officer lost control and fell off his motorbike. At the same time, a bus carrying jury members had problems with its wheels. One driver said, "The whole trip started falling apart." A court worker added, "What was supposed to help the jury only added stress to an already tense week. It was just one problem after another." Then something more concerning happened. The coroner told the jury about an inconsistency involving Lord Stevens. He led the first investigation into the crash, called Operation Paget. At that time, he asked all the big questions. Now, during the inquest, he was the one being questioned. The issue was what he told Henri Paul's parents. In November 2006, during a meeting in Paris, Lord Stevens assured them that their son would not be blamed for driving under the influence. But the official report released weeks later claimed the opposite, stating Henri Paul had been over 3 times the legal alcohol limit. This contradiction led the jury to ask tough questions. They wondered why Lord Stevens said one thing and allowed another version in the report. The coroner shared his final report's 3 possible reasons for Lord Stevens' actions. One juror suggested he might not have fully understood what it contained, while another thought he lied to protect Henri Paul's parents. Alternatively, changes may have occurred between the meeting and the report's release, causing confusion among the jury. Another ongoing rumor was whether Diana was pregnant at the time of the crash. The coroner stated she was on contraceptive pills, and tests showed no signs of pregnancy. Still, speculation continued, especially from Dodi Fayed's father, who firmly believed she was expecting. The hearing included emotional testimonies and mixed opinions about Diana's life and future. Many felt the inquest overshadowed who Diana truly was.